Yay, we're live. I've gotten so good at this. Like it's seamlessly happening. Anyway,
Woohoo!
hello everybody. Welcome to Mastering the Drop, a real view of recovery. This is like an amazing, wonderful day for us to all gear up and sit here and just kind of get together because it's that week. It's well for us. I know Melissa, you had yours already.
Yes, I'm Canadian and our Thanksgiving was last month.
Yes. So we're behind you, but this is my favorite week, and I know everybody's probably like, yeah, I know you've been saying it all week long in every post and everything, but it truly is. It's my favorite week. It's a week of giving, and but I think even more than that, it's a week to really take a breath and reflect and realize that we need to make space for receiving. I think, you know, especially from right now through the end of the year, everybody gets so hyper focused on how much they give, how much they can give, and where are they going to find what they want to give, and is it going to be perfect? And it's just so filled full of pressure, which then goes right into the following holiday, which is the new year, where we then shift gears super fast and super drastically, and we put a ton of pressure on ourselves to create resolution and to say, I'm not going to do this anymore, and I'm going to do this or that, and we really set ourselves up to start the year out with good intention. Okay, I'll give you that. A lot of resolutions are filled with good intention and health in mind, and life improvement in mind, because believe me, for all of you out there that are saying, can't, I'm looking forward to sober January, you're already talking about it in November, don't know what's wrong with right now, but anyway, I said it out loud. But we do, it's just so much pressure from it seemingly October through the end of January. That's just, I just always feel so much weight when I'm talking to people, because it's all about, needing to fix and change and all of this stuff. I'm like, wow, how heavy, how hard. So today's topic, because I'm totally sidetracked, but not really, is really making this the last year that you need a resolution, and why. Well, anyway, we're going to get into a lot of different things, and you're going to hear me give you preview to some things that are coming. But we're going to start today with talking about making this the last year you need a resolution from within, right? Because, if we don't start with our own physical body, if we don't start with our own internal functioning, and we don't start looking at what that can do for us and how that really promotes clarity and the feelings of health and lightness and airiness and freedom and high functioning and all the things, right? If we don't start there, we're starting in the wrong place. And I will liken it to all of you out there with addictions, negative attachments, and habits that are holding you hostage. If you remove the alcohol, I'm just going to go with alcohol today. If you remove the alcohol and think, okay, I've got 3 months, I got 90 days, like alcohol free. Why isn't life feel better? Or, you've moved through those different periods where it was, and relationships were better, and this and that, and now all of a sudden, like, you're in an argument, or there's something's going on, and why isn't it better? Nothing's changing. I stopped drinking. Why isn't anything getting better? Because it's not about the alcohol. Like, it's about so much more. Like, that's just step one, so that you can start to clear some pathways. But now we got to go internally. we gotta go, okay, how are we feeding our body? What are the nourishments? What are the minerals? What are all of the things? And then we also have to be looking at, how you're cognitively processing. And anyway, I could talk for 100 years. So, Melissa is like just my guru when it comes to how our vessels, the one and only vessel we're ever going to have, truly function. And I need you guys to hear her today, and I need you guys to listen. I want you to, and again, I'm going to tell you about some things that we have for you, but I'm going to make you wait till towards the end because I don't want you to leave. So if you want to hear about the wonderful things we have for you today, you'll stay. Anyway, Melissa, thank you so much for being here, because I think, you just have so much wisdom and knowledge and caring and kindness and giving to bring to the table today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here to share. And, even though I'm Canadian, it's not Thanksgiving week for me. I totally agree with you that slowing down in order to receive at this time of year is really important, and something that I'm working on as well. Thanksgiving or not, receiving is something that I'm definitely working on as well. And I just want to also share something that you were talking about a moment ago as another example to highlight to people. Is I recently read from the works of a plastic surgeon who said that after having plastic surgery and getting the exact face that you want, interestingly, 98% of people find they are still unhappy. So it's never about the outside.
I literally just got goosebumps.
It's never about the outside, right? It's always about the inside and healing from the inside.
I think that this is an impromptu place to stop, because it's important. As somebody that, struggled with body image and dysmorphia and, things like that, like you're hitting a lot of pieces that I can, relate to there with just that quote from that plastic surgeon. 98%, guys, if you're not hearing that, 98% of people are still not happy. And generally we'll go into that external and we'll point our fingers at it's the surgeon or it's, whatever, but really it's not. It's really how you are thinking, feeling, perceiving, and experiencing living inside of your own mind, body, spirit, soul. And I can tell you, and believe me, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not somebody that hasn't sought physical improvement, because I have, and it truly didn't make me like my physical appearance any better. What does bring me this peace, because people ask me a lot of times, again, back to that, eating disorder, realm or world, ask me a lot of times, how is it that I'm, I find myself able to find satisfaction today? I fuel my body properly. I eat the foods that I know that work well, that allow me to not feel internally the ways that bring about the feeling of largeness, right? To use the words that I know you're all thinking, right? Like, we're going to go through this weekend and we're going to eat foods that in and of themselves are packed full of sodium and sugar and flour and all the things.
And chemicals, let's face it, right? And chemicals.
And if you're going into it thinking, I'll just eat smaller portions and I'll be better. Sure. Sampling is always great. It's a great approach. I use it because, I just do. It's what I do. But I also go in with my eyes wide open, knowing that at the end of it, I am going to feel bloated. I am, and I am going to have inflammation. But here's the thing is, I know it's time limited, but it's taken me years to get there on an emotional and cognitive level. So anyway, back to how I can be satisfied. I am 97% 5% of the time, year after year, I am very cognizant of what I put in my body. I get the rest that I need. I make sure that I take care of myself from the inside out. I don't seek external validation. I don't seek external comfort or soothing or anything like that. And I will tell you, I feel like, even though when I look really closely, I see, wrinkles and flaws and whatever, I still feel like the older I get, and I'm in my 50s, the older I get, the more satisfied I am with the person I am, mind, body, spirit, and internally and externally. Anyway, so I just want you guys to hear that, because I know, again, resolution time is here, and we're all planning our fad crash diet. We are all planning our very aggressive physical exercise routine. We are all gearing up to, make those physical appearance changes. Like, I'm going to get a new wardrobe because those suits are going to make me feel so much better, whatever it is, even if it is plastic surgery. Let's truly look at that. Anyway, sorry to have interrupted. Back to our innards.
No problem at all. It's such an important topic for people to understand. And to your point, what we're fueling our body with makes such a difference in all aspects of our life, our energy level and our mental clarity or lack thereof, which results in brain fog that so many people struggle with today. And when we have brain fog, or when we're in a state of stress because we've put food in that's causing stress on our body, we're not getting as much done. We're stuck we get into overwhelm, we get stuck, we're unproductive, and then we beat ourselves up over not getting enough done. That stress is extremely tiring. It bogs us down and puts us into that state of fatigue. It can negatively impact our sleep. So we're all interconnected. And yet there's so much that we can do to shift that really isn't taught through public health or through our mainstream education. So people just don't realize. People don't realize what stress is doing to their digestive system, that it's basically turning off their digestive system, but we're still eating and we're putting food in and our body can't break it down. Well, we eat food for energy, but if the body can't break it down, we're not getting the benefit of that food. And the body does several things at that point. It's either storing food that it can't break down properly in fat closets. So that causes weight gain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we end up with constipation or diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
Because the body can't break down our food properly. And in all of those cases, we're not getting the nutrients and vitamins to the cells that will give us energy. On top of all of that, we live in a toxic world, which just adds to the stress. And again, people don't realize this. And the shocking thing is that since World War II, we've had 144,000 man-made chemicals introduced to our world in North America.
That's insane. That's insane. So let's talk about a chemical really quick, because I think this is important for people to hear. What does alcohol / we'll just go with alcohol and opiates, and maybe even marijuana, we'll just call them the top three, for people that are utilizing these kinds of chemicals, how do they contribute also to the ill processing or utilization of nourishment?
They are negatively impacting the health of our liver. Our liver is charged with over 500 chemical reactions in the body and keeping our body pure and clean. And when it gets overburdened by any of those that you've mentioned, as well as the 144,000 over here, man-made chemicals that are, the Roundup on our food or fire retardant on our furniture in our home that's designed to keep us safe, except that's getting into our body and through our skin to, personal care products we use, to chemical products we use to clean our house, to chemical products that are put into food that is sold on supermarket shelves in boxes to add and extend to the shelf life, right? All of these things our body has to process, but none of them does our body know what to do with, because none of them are natural. We are natural beings, and we evolve very slowly over time. So to suddenly have to cope with 144,000 man-made chemicals, in addition to the alcohols, the marijuana, the opiates, et cetera, that we use, our body is getting broken, our liver, is getting bogged down. And other things that are affecting it too are things like antibiotics and are just simply our stress level.
Medications.
Exactly. Sugars, processed sugars, but there's also chemical sugars, energy drinks. There's all sorts of things, right? And so our poor liver is just bogged down.
I'm going to toss this out here because, this is a fad thing. And I use it, but, kombucha, it's insane, the level of sugars. So, and then there's the ones that have alcohol. In fact, I've got a really funny post for my story tomorrow. But anyway, but, so even in these kombuchas, right? And I've had this conversation with my husband several times, like, it's kombucha, like, it doesn't matter which one it is. And I'm like, yeah, like, look at the label. Like, I have found one that has super low sugar content. I think it's like just 5 grams or something like that. And I really like it. I enjoy it because to me, and I can tell the difference when I drink one that is higher in the, whether it's the fermentation process, whether it's natural or it's not, it's still sugar. And I get distended. And I'm like, well, wait, this is counterproductive because that's not what I'm drinking it for. I'm drinking it to help my digestional process and to give it the good stuff that it needs. And if it's going to be counterintuitive, I'm just not going to drink it. I'll pour myself some, apple cider vinegar in a little bit of tea, and get less sugar that way, which probably is, for all intent purposes, maybe even a, better option. But, so there's products out there that are for our health that are natural, but in that same sense, if you're not looking at your labels and you're not paying attention to each individual company, right? The companies choose how they brew them or process them or package them or whatever they do to them, right? Like Doritos, those are made specifically so that you can't eat just one. They have hand-picked chemicals to put in them so that you can't eat just one. It was very purposeful.
Yes, the food industry knows. They want us to be addicted. They want us to eat more because that drives their bottom line. And so they actually hire people to come up with recipes that will cause us to become addicted to their food. And that is no joke. That is reality. And on top of that, we also have the marketing of all of that as well, right?
Yeah.
So I heard research the other day, and it's now being used in marketing, that Lucky Charms are the best way to start your day. They have the most nutrients in them.
Oh, really?
Because they've got all these fortified added nutrients, right? Okay, great. But what about all the sugar that's in them? And that's going to be
Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms. So we can say anything about anything, right? What I instead like to do is to teach people how to figure out the right way to eat for their body, because every single one of us is different. Our microbiomes or our gut are as different as our fingerprints, because no two of us have ever been exposed to the exact same meals at the exact same times from the moment of conception, right? So our microbiomes develop differently, and they go back 4 generations. So they're impacted by where your great-great-grandmother lived. And that could be in a totally different country and different, ethnicity and cultural foods, right? And so I work to help people to figure out the right way to eat for their body using nutrient-dense meals that leave us feeling satiated. So we're not having to graze and snack for more energy between meals. But we don't just talk about nutrition. we talk about digestion, because turning digestion on is really important. It's not what you eat, it's what you absorb, right? That results in a conversation around stress, which results in a conversation around sleep, and we're also talking about sugar and marketing and, processed foods and what the food industry is doing. Because the reality is that this is Ocean Robbins of the Food Revolution Network who said this quote, that we have a food industry that doesn't care about our health, and we have a health industry that doesn't care about our food, because our doctors aren't taught nutrition at school, right? And
oh my gosh, there is no cohesion in a lot of things that need to be tying together: primary health care and mental health care.
Exactly.
I have so many recent stories of people that have, gone through things medically that they need to, but because that medical provider just, there's all the jokes. I'll just leave it with this: the bedside manner. As they walked away, they were actually experiencing physical trauma response because of the outcome. And it's like, well, yes. Anyway, so there's just no
so many
collaboration,
disconnects, as you say, and yet our body is all interconnected. And we can't just look at one piece of us. We have to look at all of us, all of our organs at once, how they impact each other, and mind, body, and soul. Yes. And that's how we get true optimal health. And another piece of that is supporting our liver. In today's world, we have to do things differently because we've put so much pressure on it. I actually say that it's both overburdened and undernourished, because the liver detoxes in 2 phases. And phase 2 needs very specific nutrients that are no longer in the soil. So then they're not grown into the food. So we're not getting them through our diet. And a lot of people think, oh, well, supplementation, that's a waste of money and you just pee it out. Well, that's actually not true in today's world. Because of our nutrient deplete soils, we have a lot of people with a lot of nutrient deficiencies that I see all the time in my lab tests. Some very common deficiencies are magnesium and omega-3s, zinc, vitamin D, just as a starting point. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, we have negated some of the health steps we took in past generations as no longer being necessary. And one of those is the detoxification process to support our liver. And it's still done today in Ayurvedic medicine in India, which is medicine that goes back 6,000 years. It's still done today in Chinese medicine in Asia and other Asian cultures, actually, not just China, but that goes back 5,000 to 6,000 years. Latin American cultures still practice detoxification, but somehow in the Western world, we decided, well, if we have a shower and we bathe our outer body, that's enough for good hygiene and good health. It might be enough for good hygiene, but it is not enough for good health. We've completely forgotten about our inner body. And I think all of this came around when we also started to forget about orthomolecular medicine, which is the medicine of therapeutic vitamin doses to help people heal. We've used plant-based medicine and vitamin therapy for hundreds of years, even in North America. But Big Pharma comes along around the 1950s and starts to push all of that away and say, oh, all of that is nonsense. Now we've got better things. Here's our chemical pills, which in many cases are masking symptoms and not truly healing. But we've forgotten so much of what we had done in our past. And so on the holistic side of healthcare, we want people to truly heal. And we continue to use what worked for centuries and continue to learn and enhance and improve. But we don't just throw it all out like the baby in the bathwater. And so detoxing is still something that is very important. In fact, it's more important than ever because of this massive chemical load. And so when we help the liver do its job, we can get the toxins out. We can get rid of dead cells. We can get rid of damaged cells. And if we stay in a state of autophagy, or deep cleaning mode, as I call it, for long enough, our human growth hormone kicks in and we start to generate new cells. Well, those new cells give us new revitalized energy. When we clear out those toxins, we're also clearing out that brain fog and bringing in, new mental clarity. We're starting to sleep better because the body naturally detoxes overnight. But if it's having a hard time doing that because it's, again, so bogged down, it can actually wake us up. And then we have a hard time falling back to sleep. But if the body can easily go through its nightly detox process, we get to sleep right on through. We wake up feeling energized. We're more stress resilient, so the stresses of the day don't knock us off our feet. I actually work with people to get them off coffee, not necessarily forever, but just to experience not having coffee. I know it sends people into a panic. What do you mean I can't have coffee? And I'm like, just bear with me. We're going to just do it for a short amount of time. We all have different tolerance levels to coffee, to sugar, to different foods, right? People need to understand their tolerance level to coffee, and they need to understand what coffee is doing to them. And it has an 8-hour half-life. So if you have a coffee at 7 a.m. in the morning, you have half of that caffeine running around in your bloodstream at 3 p.m. and half again at 11 p.m. And that's if you've had 1 cup. If you've had more than 1 cup, you've got even more running through your bloodstream as you're trying to go to sleep. And how many people suffer trying to get to sleep every night? 70 million Americans suffer with that.
I was going to say a lot of people.
A lot of people, right?
Yeah.
But they don't realize that it could have anything to do with the coffee that they had 8 or even 16 hours ago.
This is so crazy. I mean, I would imagine that, there are so many things that are like that we, utilize. I mean, I myself, I used to way back in the day, probably in my, 20s, early 30s, when I was still burning the candle at both ends, I would drink an entire pot of coffee. Now it's like, 1.5 cups, I'm good. And I try to pay attention. And and now that you say that, I know cognitively that second one doesn't put me in any different of a place, right? As far as how awake or alert or how much energy I have throughout the day, because I can have just the one and it's the same. But, I also know that there are days where I have a harder time going to sleep than other days. And I would venture to say that it's those days that I have tea in the middle of the day, perhaps have my kombucha too late, and because there are other things outside of coffee that are the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
So, if we're thinking about, looking at our insides and making these transitions and shifts so that we don't, because this is what I'm hearing people, and I know who I'm thinking of, and I'm pretty sure you're watching, but no, it's yes, Melissa just said temporarily, but no, we don't want to go, okay, I can do that for 2 weeks and then go and then say, we're going to just be able to go right back. That's like saying, I can't go a day without drinking a handle of vodka, but if I remove it for 30 days, I can go back. Like it's, we want to, and that was an extreme example, but, but what we want to think about, guys, is this, because I just want to keep your head as Melissa's giving us all of this amazing education and things to think about and things to reflect on and things to contemplate and consider for going forward. I think it's important that we aren't listening with the intention of, again, that same mindset of a resolution. Oh, I'm going to detox and then, I'll be all cleaned out and I'll be fresh and be ready to go. And then, over time, I'll be able to reintroduce all of those things that I love. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about getting to know yourself, your physical body, mind, and your spirit in a way that is unique to you so that you can honor it going forward and be happy, content, satiated, pleased, whatever words you want to, adjective you want to throw at it from here going forward, so that you don't have to continuously be repeating the cycle. Sure, I get it, Melissa. We do have to detox. Even the healthiest people, we need to detox. But I'm talking to, I'm talking to people that, will use detox to, or use the month of January to, take a break from alcohol so that they can, go back to it in a few months. We want it to be lifelong, manageable, and maintainable. Mm-hmm. So even if sobriety from alcohol isn't what you want, we can figure out how to be sober conscious as long as we do it the right way. And so it's almost that same concept of how I work with my clients, right? When we're learning the practical application of the psychological tactics and skill sets and tools, so that we can experience living in a way that fulfills us despite an unchanging environment around us. It's the same concept. We need to add, edit, delete, make it our own. We need to look at, what do I need to do for me? Right? Just because the recovery industry has like the standard protocol in these little boxes they like to fit everybody in, doesn't mean that that's right for everybody, right? Whether it's sugar, alcohol, shopping, people pleasing, whatever it is, like it gets to look, feel, and be however you want and or need it to be. But we have to be realistic. It's not what we want necessarily here or what we think we want here, because like the surgeon said, we think we want a new nose, but then we look in the mirror and we're like, that ain't any better, and it's right. We have to be willing to say, in every moment going forward, how do I want to experience living? What do I want this to look like, feel like, be like? And what do I need to do to make it be that? Mm-hmm. Anyway, and quit relying on things outside of you to make it happen.
Yes. And so to that point, when I have them just experience life without coffee, it's so that they can create that awareness for themselves around how it's making their body feel at bedtime, when they wake up, through the day, etc. And it's amazing how many people are shocked that when they come off coffee, the crutch they were using for energy, they actually have more energy. And they don't want to go back to it, but they might like the flavor. So then decaf is a great option, or maybe they had 4 cups before and now they're just going to have 1 cup. Or maybe they're not that sensitive to coffee and they're okay to go back to their coffee habit, but they've learned something else about themselves through the process. So really what I'm doing through this process of guiding people through detoxing is creating awareness for them around how they eat, when they eat, and how that makes them feel, and what they're eating, right? And how that makes them feel, because then everything becomes a choice. And when we feel better, we want more of that. And then that allows you to create habits that last a lifetime. Because pretty soon after using new recipes that you love, and I always provide recipes, and I've never had someone tell me that they didn't like a single one of them. And I eat them all the time, and people continue eating them, even beyond the end of the detox, that pretty soon you don't even want the other food that you had before, right? And I also teach the 80-20 rule. We're human. We're never going to be perfect. But when it comes to food, the 80-20 rule, because food is very often shared with company, right? And it's meant to be enjoyed. And you don't always have total control over what you're eating. But you can plan your week around that and know that, okay, at that meal, I'm not going to have total control. So I'm not going to worry about it and stress out about it. That doesn't help anything. I'm just going to receive that meal for what it is, right? But the rest of the week, I have control, and I'm going to make better options and ensure that I'm eating in a way that serves my body so that whatever that meal is, my body can handle.
Yes.
Right. And so when we take this approach, it can be a long-lasting lifestyle habit, as opposed to looking at it, I'm just going to do this for 3 weeks and go back. In fact, I finished my programs with a how not to retox after your detox. So why do all that work to just automatically go back? Because again, I've never had someone complete the detox program and go, oh, I wish I never did that. That never happened, right? It's the same as the gym. No one goes to the gym, does their workout, and comes out and goes, I wish I didn't do that, right? They're so happy they did it, even if they were terrified at the start. They're so happy they did it because of this newfound awareness in how much better they can feel that they didn't know. We don't notice ourselves over time starting to feel worse. It just slowly happens. And then suddenly you're sitting here and you're in your 50s going, crap, I don't feel as good as I did in my 20s or my 30s. Mm-hmm. What happened, right? What happened is you got toxic through no fault of your own, just the world that we live in. And guess what? You don't have to accept this as aging or seasonal allergies as your genetics. This is something you can do something about, and you can get back to feeling amazing. I'm in my 50s. I truly feel as good, if not better, than I did in my 30s. Because I didn't know this when I was in my 30s.
Yes.
I know it now. I make choices every day based on what I now know. When we know better, we do better. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But
no, I don't think any of us are.
No, but I know that I'm doing way better than I did in my 30s, because at least 80% of the time, I'm making better choices for me and my body. And I know that I can create a body that's inhospitable to disease. And we do that by looking after our insides. That I have control over that, a huge amount of control over that. Again, I didn't know this back then, but with epigenetics, which is, science that's come out in the last 5-10 years, we know that your health outcomes are the result of your genes plus the environment you create inside your body. Well, that results in your health outcomes. This factor of the environment you create inside your body is weighted at 90 to 95% of that equation. Wow. That's really powerful, because we used to think that our genes dictated our health outcomes, and you'd hear people saying, well, I just got crappy genes. That's only 5 to 10% of the equation.
It's the pointing the finger. It's the pointing the finger outward.
It's not taking responsibility. Absolutely. But we didn't know better. We didn't know better. Now we do. So we know that 5 to 10% of it is your genes. 90 to 95% is the environment you create. Where? Inside your body.
Insane. That is crazy. That is so, wow. Just, I don't know. I think, all of this is so eye-opening. I think it is so important to know. I think it's a lot of information. So I know that a lot of people are like, huh? And this is not what I expected to hear today, etc. It's what I expected to hear today, but that's because we work together. But so with that, I want people to realize that, we're not here to say, point fingers or whatever. We want you to know that you don't have to accept and or continue to point your finger outward and place blame on other things that you truly get to choose. You get to choose how you experience living every day on all levels, in every layer, every situation, right? You get to choose. And so I know that Melissa's going to, be, dropping her information in below here so that you can reach her. But I want you guys to know, I'm going to make sure that you have the link so that you can find, because Melissa's on the platform. You can find your guided health journey on the platform. You can actually join in and start working with Melissa. You can do, all the things, and you can, get scheduled an appointment, whatever. She's here, she's available, she's not going anywhere. We are here, but you have to be willing to let go of some things, right? And that a lot of that has to do with the things that you think you need to have in your life, because oftentimes we don't, right? So, if I go back to just even the title, the last year that you're going to need a resolution, right? I want you guys to start thinking about why this might be an important habit to get rid of. And so I'm going to give it to you to think about even for a little bit over 2 weeks, because on December the 14th, I'm going to do a one-day event, and we're going to talk all about how you can actually make this the last year that you have to have a resolution. That doesn't mean that, do this last resolution and life is going to be grand, going forward. There's not going to be any work to be done. I'm not going to give you some magic phrase. I'd be the richest person on the planet if I could. However, we are going to be talking about why it's important, what it's going to mean to you when you do release this, because Melissa's telling you the stress is one of the biggest culprits in our poor functioning. That stress is really killing our ability to have a clear mind, to function effectively. It's blocking our ability to digest our food. It's creating issues like constipation and diarrhea. Like she said, she's giving you some hard, cold facts that are true. And so if we can learn how to do some very crucial, I'm not going to say simple, I wanted to say simple, but if we can learn how to do some very crucial things and learn the practical application of some very specific tactics, some psychological, some things that, we just do inside of our environment, some, that we actually, physically engage in. And yes, people will ask me all the time, isn't this, and Michelle said, and Melissa, I don't know why I just said Michelle, that's odd. Maybe I was thinking about my sister, said, creating new habits, the good ones that we want to make habitual. And so sure, as long as it's not holding you hostage on an emotional level, because I'm always going to bring you back to that emotional place. We don't want to be giving an emotional purpose to anything outside of us, as far as a control mechanism. And so I want you thinking about these things and what resolutions you're really looking for, whether that's becoming bikini ready, one of my favorite pet peeves, some fad crash diet, some exercise routine, stopping the binge eating, stopping the impulsive shopping, stopping the people pleasing, whatever it is for you. Maybe it's a list. And in the description below us here, I said, grab a pen and paper. I hope all of you did. But, I want you to be thinking about mind, body, spirit, soul. Like, what is it that I want to be functioning better? Y'all know your digestion system can be working better. Y'all just heard Melissa tell you that your organs, your liver is screaming for you to treat it better, right? And I'm sure the gallbladder and all the other things too, right? But so if we're looking at that, if you're saying, I want to stop drinking Monday through Friday, well, take a look at that and make sure you know your why. Why is it that you feel like that? Is it daily drinking? Is it, low level daily drinking? Is it high level, binge drinking? What is it? Like you've got to start by making a list, not with what you're going to do to fix, right? Again, I'll go back to that plastic surgeon statement, like, oh, I'm going to go do this and life is going to be perfect. And no, you're still 98% of you are still going to be unsatisfied. I hear the same thing. I got rid of the alcohol. Life isn't any better. Well, you have to change the way that you think about it, the way you process it, just like, the way that when you change your dietary practices and your nutrient intake, etc., like that's going to make a difference. Anyway, that could be my full sermon. But did you have anything you wanted? There's going to be a couple links below, guys. There's going to be a link to a holiday special. There's going to be a link to, there was something else. I'll probably put a save the date registration link in there for the last year. You'll need a resolution. It's 2 weeks away, but couldn't hurt to register early. I will be sending out notifications, and then you'll have direct access to Melissa in that holiday special link. But we'll go ahead and we'll drop in her regular page as well, and then she can. I think I said Michelle again. What is going on?
No, you said Melissa. All good.
Did I? I'm
I
like,
will drop, I will drop in my link as well to how to boost your immune system workshop, because that's happening next week. And I've got 2 free workshops. You pick the one that works for your calendar. And it's just so important at this time of year, especially during a pandemic. And especially for people that, maybe haven't been treating their body so kindly. And as a result, their immune system is pretty weak. And it is like a muscle, and we can strengthen it or we can weaken it. And again, this isn't taught through public health. It's not taught through our education system. And so you may have habits that are weakening your immune system and you don't realize. And when you know that, then again, you can make some changes. And, when you know why you're making those changes, it's easier to make those changes as well. And anytime I'm talking about habit change with people, it's creating lifestyle habits that serve. So it's not emotionally attached. It's lifestyle habits that serve, because we're always talking about the awareness on how we feel. And when we feel better because we've implemented habits that make us feel better, well, we just want to keep going with that. And guess what? Sometimes we fall off. And then I get messages of, I fell off and I feel like crap. And I'm like, that's okay. That's your body and brain's way of reminding you to keep going.
That is a great piece of advice for a lot of different pieces of areas of life.
Exactly. We're never going to be perfect. We just have to learn from the mistakes and keep going. Not stop and beat ourselves up. Tomorrow's a new day. Just pick ourselves up and keep going.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for dropping those links in, because if you guys, she's offering you complimentary things here, and access to things that are going to help you like get started even sooner. So make sure you click on them. Just look at it. You don't have to do anything. Just give yourself some more knowledge. I recommend it. I know that we've already got our plan set up. So
we do.
We do. We have our plan set up and I'm excited. But I wanted to thank you for being here. Hang out for a really quick second afterwards. But you guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope that you really were internalizing. I hope you had a pen and a paper, and we will see you next week.